Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a red door. Yeah, we took this picture when we were in Bordeaux, France recently, and it was one of my favorites. Really cool. I've got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
You can manage chat so you can ask questions while I'm painting. Let's get started. Alrighty, I am using a 9x12" canvas. Hello, welcome everybody. Before I just jump right in. What? Who's there?
We should have started out that way with a knock knock joke.
Okay.
You want to restart the video?
No, don't.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, no fun.
No, not at all.
So I've kind of roughly sketched out the door, basically big old rectangle and half circle at the top. That's really all you're going to need to start, and then we'll kind of develop it as we go. I've got mostly flat brushes tonight, flat and bright. Bright, the difference is just the bright are shorter versions of the flat, so here's two that are the same size, but the long one is the flat and the short one is the bright. Or close to the same size at least. So just a variety of sizes. What I like to do is generally kind of just figure out the size width of the area that I'm painting and then find a brush that kind of fits that. It makes it a little bit easier. So if you've got different sizes, just grab what you've got. I've got more textured ones and kind of a smoother ones as well. So the Aspen from the Princeton line are a little bit more textured. They kind of like a hog bristle brush, and then the Summit 6100 series brushes are a little softer and smoother. So the smoother ones will be good for things where we don't want a lot of texture, just kind of roughing, blocking in things, and getting straight lines. And then when we want to add texture, kind of the rough brick and or stonework and kind of rough details on the door, weathered look, then we'll switch to the more textured brushes to get us that. It makes it a little bit easier. And I may grab my 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch angle shader from the VelvetTouch line to do the greenery up the side. And we could even turn the greenery kind of fall colors too if we wanted to get crazy. Who knows? We'll see what we decide. With the red door, I don't know, what color we would make the greenery. Maybe yellow and oranges, but I think I'm probably going to stick with green. I might put a little bit of the orangey colors in there if we want to make it more fall. Anyhow, all right, let's keep going. I don't know why I'm talking about that. Colors. Carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, India yellow, cadmium yellow light. Cadmium red light, Quinacridone Magenta, Ultramarine Blue, Phthalo green yellow shade, Unbleached Titanium, Titanium white, and gloss glazing. Actually, that one is satin glazing liquid, so just a little bit less shiny than the gloss. All right, let's get going. You also probably want a ruler because that'll just make it easier when we do our straight lines. So I think the first thing I want to do is just kind of block in some color. I thought about tinting the whole thing with the color beforehand, but I kind of really need sort of two different colors for the stone and the door-ish. Like, I didn't want to make it too dark, so I was going to do like a burnt umber or something like that, but I just decided to do it with you guys, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to start out with burnt umber here. And I think that's what I'm going to do as an undertone in my stone area. So I'm just going to use a 12 bright here. And just fill this in with kind of a light coat. I got a little bit of that satin glazing liquid so that I'd have some, so it wouldn't unbind since I'm thinning it out so much. With heavy body acrylics, they don't have as much binder as like a professional acrylic will have more pigment and less binder. And the binder is what makes it stick to the canvas. So if you're adding too much water, it will, maybe not stick as well to the canvas as you want it to. So Oh, and I think I want to do the little area around the door too, so let's just go ahead and do that whole area there.
And you're using this brush just because it's big and it
Large.
can cover a lot of area.
Yeah.
So they don't, I mean, if they don't have it, they can just use the
No,
biggest
just
one
use
they
what
got.
you've got. Yeah.
Okay.
You can even use a sponge brush if you have it. That will work.
Hopefully its name is not Bob.
SpongeBob. I got it.
Good job.
Good job.
That
First
might
dad
be-
joke of the night.
Might be the Halloween candy talking. I don't know.
All right, I'm just looking at the stone to see kind of what direction I'm seeing the bricks, and I'm just going to go straight up and down with this. And I'm not being super careful with this either. This is just the undertone that's going to go under our bricks. So I want it dark enough that the stonework, it's kind of a light stone though, so I don't want to go too dark with it. And we'll probably darken up certain areas of it with some glazing once we get our door in, but let's just go ahead and do like that. And do the whole thing, and you could probably do the whole thing with burnt umber if you wanted to. I just decided not to because I was afraid that it would make my door too dark. So I want my door to have kind of a nice rich red. So, all right, looks good enough. May not be completely straight, but right now it's not going to matter. I'm going to get a little bit of black and do in the little area up here. Just when I'm picking up water, just on the corner of the brush there. I don't need to dunk the whole thing. And this brush is probably a little bit big for this little tiny area here, but I'm going to do the best I can to keep it in. You can see I'm kind of turning it so that the edge of the brush is sort of outside, and just letting that draw.
I always have a hard time doing that.
And you can use a smaller brush, it'd probably be a little bit easier, but I'm being lazy right now. All right, there we go. So there's our door. Let me clean this out really well. And then for my undertone on my door itself, it's kind of a light reddish color that I'm seeing in the highlights area. And then in the darker areas, it's kind of a dark burgundy color. So I don't think red is one of those colors that it's a little bit hard to do highlights on because the highlights tend to look kind of pink, even though it is kind of pink on this door. So I kind of want to start, I think, with a mid-tone, and I'll go dark and then light from there, and that way I don't have it starting out with it too dark. So I think I'm going to try to mix up sort of a mid-tone color with my magenta. I like to mix my reds, but if you can find a red that is like what you want, the color that you want for your door, by all means, use it. Usually your pre-mixed reds will be basically the kind of a mid-tone color anyways. So the Cadmium Red Light is opaque, so it's going to cover fairly well. And then I think I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna to it, just to make it a little bit more earthy. And maybe a little bit more magenta, which burnt sienna and magenta together are very similar to like a color called Quinacridone Burnt Orange. So you could also use that color if you wanted to, mixed with your Cadmium Red Light. Still not getting quite the color that I want. So I'm just going to fiddle with it until, yeah, that looks all right. I think I feel like I still wanted a little bit more magenta, a little bit more of a brighter red. I drew on some detail, but I just did it so that I could see if I'd you know, the perspective was right, if I could fit all the detail that I wanted in there. We'll draw it in together as we need to. So hopefully everybody's doing well. How are you doing tonight, hon?
I'm doing good.
Mark worked a full day, and
I know.
he's on his second job here.
Yeah, exactly. I had to rush over. Wait a minute, I'm sitting in the same spot I did for my other job.
He works from home on Tuesdays, so it doesn't have to.
Which is a blessing. Very nice.
Yeah, doesn't have to worry about traffic. All right, I'm going to turn it so that I can get kind of a straightish line here.
Keeping all the people in Florida in our thoughts and prayers.
Absolutely, yes.
Hurricane coming in.
Another one, it's like, what the heck? After that one that just had a week or two ago.
And then we're over here in a burn ban because we haven't had rain in
I know.
like months.
So weird. Yes, I hope everybody is able to get to safety and stay safe throughout the storm. It's only, I mean, it's easy to say it's only stuff, but I'd hate for somebody to get hurt.
Exactly.
I've experienced fire myself when we were in high school. We had a fire and destroyed our condo, and I know what that's like, so I don't wish that on anybody. It's devastating. But thankfully we all got out safely and everybody was fine. Of course, my dad wasn't there, which always seems like it happens. We've talked about with our grandkids. It's like the only time that our one grandson had to, go to the hospital. Our son was out doing drill or whatever. Had to be taken, not to the hospital, but to the doctor, for stitches, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. Jordan was gone. It's like, of course. That's exactly what happened to me when my first experience with having to take my son to get stitches. All right, so there we go. Sorry, I don't know how we got on that topic.
Oh, just the evacuations.
Yes. Yeah.
Construction and stuff.
Yes. All right. So that's definitely, obviously too bright, but we'll go darker, obviously. It'll take a couple of coats to get us there.
Now, if I was teaching, it'd be done.
You'd be done?
Yeah,
this is
a good
your finished version.
impressionistic.
I've got a hair or something in here. I don't see it though. Oh, there it is. Well, I can see the line of it, but I can't figure out how to get it off of there. Oh well. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have you dry that for me because I can't do anything to it until it's completely dry. It doesn't look like much.
You want me to give it a haircut?
No, we're good. Just a blow out. All right, let me clean up my workspace here. While he's doing that, I'll show you what we worked on with my patrons. On Thursdays, I do a special class for my $15 tier patrons. Usually a more advanced type lesson with them that takes several weeks, and we'll work on it every Thursday until it's finished. So this one was I think like a 4.5 hour. No, it was 6 hours. Sorry, 6 hours lesson, but another door, so it's kind of appropriate. This was a picture that we took in Stow on the Wold. Sorry, this was in the Cotswolds area in England when we were there. So Took a lot of pictures of doors. I don't know, I was fascinated. It's always kind of interesting. The character of the country is really evident in the doors. In England, the UK, there was just a lot of like really beautiful rustic type doors, almost kind of simple, but there was always kind of really neat like floral elements, or you know, their gardens were incredible. And then this one was particularly cool. The day we were there, it was blowing wind through these trees, and they were just massive. So, anyhow, if you're interested in that, it's on my website. You can go check it out, and it has links to the Patreon information there. So, if you're interested in joining us for any of those classes, just hanging out. If you don't want to paint along, that's fine too. I have a lot of people that just come and hang out because we've got a good group of people that join us for those. It's really fun. Several of them been with me, patrons, for many years, so it's been neat getting to know them. We got to visit one of them when we were in London this last time too. Really fun. All right, so I'm going to just use my chalk here. This is the chalk pencil. I think it's a white charcoal pencil from General's. The marking's all gone. But I'm going to do my marks above the door. And then right here where it comes across, there is a little section just in between the door where it opens. And then the doors, I was talking about the doors, the character of the doors. The doors in Bordeaux in particular were amazing. I think I took almost 40 photos of different kinds of doors, and they were all unique and very elaborate, very like ornate, you know, very French. So very cool.
Yeah. We saw some of the knockers too.
Yeah, some of the knockers were neat. One of them was kind of like a key, really neat, like little key. I don't know. Hopefully we'll get to paint some more of them as months go by. I've got so many good ones to choose from now. It's so nice. So I will not have any problem coming up with lessons for a while.
Good problem to have.
Mm-hmm. So big, kind of just long rectangle here, and then this area, kind of a long column. It actually kind of cuts off right in here. I don't know why I made it that long. Don't go down that far. Well, let's go ahead and do the steps. So there's like a little part of the steps showing here, and then a step down. You see, so this part will be darker, and then the edge of the building comes out, and then we see so it comes down just a little bit and out, and then the other step is like right in here. Might move this up just a little bit. Somewhere like that. And then the bottom is down here, so you're not really seeing it. It's just kind of flushed down here, the bottom of the building. And then this part goes up, and somewhere, it's not quite halfway up, but it's not quite a third. It's like, so if this is half, yeah, that's about right there, probably somewhere in there, just like maybe an inch away from halfway. So there, yeah, somewhere like that, maybe a little bit lower, but there. Comes across. across. And the photo was taken from below, and looking up, you know, it kind of was so tall that it kind of skewed it a little bit. So I'm kind of straightening things out a little bit from the perspective of the photograph. So if you're, you know, if you're looking at the photo and thinking that it looks a little off, that's why. I'm just trying to kind of make it a little bit more. So there's kind of 3 blocks there from this spot, sort of equal marks somewhere in there like that. And then another little part here. This kind of sticks out a little bit. Here and here. Comes in just a little bit. And there's like a little bit of darker bit that kind of comes in front right here too. So a little bit in front of the door. And a little bit in front of the door right here too, this block. Okay. Then another rectangle that way. I ended up with a lot of room on this side for some reason. Don't know why.
Yeah, it's a little off.
That's all right. Yeah.
There's a big plant trying to break into the house there.
Yeah, exactly.
I tried scratching at the bottom of the door, but couldn't get in, so I was trying to break the window.
Yep. And put that little plant thing right there. And then I'll just kind of climb up like this. Okay. All right, that looks good enough. Let's start adding some texture. So I think I'm going to use this. This is kind of the sort of almost the width of these large bricks in the stonework that I'm seeing. And we'll work on that first. So let's mix up some different colors of the stonework to use with a palette knife, and that'll just give us a few options to use so we can work quickly and don't have to mix and remix colors the whole time. There's that hair. Found it. Okay, so kind of 50-50 burnt umber and ultramarine blue. If you've been on my channel, you've seen me use this mixture before. It's a really good mid-tone gray. Depending on how much blue you add, it can go more cool. If you add more brown, it goes warmer, more brownish, or more blue. Okay, so that looks good. Let's do kind of a yellowish tone one. I think I'm going to use the, whoops, I used a lot of that. There we go. Yellow Oxide and burnt umber. Let's just kind of see what we get there. Probably 2 parts yellow to 1 part burnt umber. Okay. That's nice. I think the stone is a little bit more gray still. I'm kind of wiping off my brush or my palette knife there, so it's getting a little bit of that blue in there too. Let me think. Hold that up to the picture there. It's a little bit dark and a little bit more yellow than I want. Let's try adding some white to this and see what we get. Okay, so it's a little bit saturated. By saturated, I just mean that's a little bit too bright. Like the color in the stone is a little bit more neutral, you know. I don't want this to be kind of a bright color. You can see up against there how gray that stone looks versus what I've got now on my palette, so, or my knife. So I can use gray or like black to add to this. The black is going to turn this kind of green, but I do see a little bit of green in there. So I'm going to try just a little bit of black and see what happens. Just a tiny bit. That turned it nice and gray. I think I'm going to go ahead and mix in all of this. Sun is making a smoothie in the other room. I can hear it. Okay. All right, that's nice. Now let's see what that looks like. That's good. It didn't go too green. We didn't add too much black. The black has kind of blue undertones. That's why it turns green when you add it to the yellow oxide. So holding it up against that. It could probably go gray even more, but I think we're kind of closer to where we want to be there. So I think this will work for kind of a starting place, and we'll just mix into it as we work. So I've got kind of a nice dark brownish gray. And let's go ahead and make a gray with our ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, which will be just a different tone of gray than the burnt umber mixture. A little bit more reddish maybe. That's nice. Okay, that's a really pretty gray, isn't it? And again, using what's left on my palette knife to kind of mix into it, so it's got a little bit of that yellow affecting it. I like that. Okay, that's pretty. Actually might like that better than the other two. We'll see as we go. So I always scrape it up into the smallest spot possible so that it's easy to, so it doesn't like dry out as fast. And it's easy to kind of grab. I'm going to just dip that in there and then kind of sandwich it between two pieces of paper towel there and pull it clean. All right. So let's start with this kind of mid-tone gray since it's what's on my brush and I think it'll work. And we'll just start kind of laying on some stone texture, and I'm just going to set my brush down and let it drag across and create some texture. Let's get some of the lighter color. Use some of that. What you doing, hon?
Sorry, I'm trying to get this monitor to look right. Sorry.
I think all I'm hearing is clicking, 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 click, click, click.
This is very dark. And now it's blurry. What am I doing?
Don't know.
There's going to be some more clicking. Sorry.
Okay.
Till I figure out what I just did.
All right. So just very light touches and minimal application of paint as light as you can. And if you've got an area where you're overlapping, then you can grab a little bit more of the paint, maybe get some of that unbleached titanium. And just kind of tap it over where you want the more solid color to be. And then I can wipe my brush off and just sort of pull it. Okay. Good. Get a little bit more. I'm just kind of switching between these colors. Maybe get a little bit of the lighter color here. There's a little bit of the interior part of the doorway showing right there, so I'm just kind of pulling it in so it's coming in on that door just a little bit right there. Kind of all the way up like that. And these stones are kind of irregular, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of that unbleached titanium and kind of mark sort of the edge of the stone here. Is he dreaming? No. Is he wanting in? Is that a dog? Bitsy, what are you doing? I think think he's trying to get Spencer to let him into his room. Okay.
What are you parsing at?
Make sure you're spraying your work there while you're working. Gonna get a little bit of the darker color and go up underneath these parts that are sticking out. And then just gently rub across. We'll add our separation and things to this later. Getting a little bit of the burnt umber.
You coming in?
Was he just wanting in?
I don't know. He just looked at me when I opened the door. He's going over to his bed, laying down.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Just
That pops.
trying to get attention. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit darker on either side of this part that's sticking out, just slightly. Doesn't have to be super big difference, but just a little. And I meant to use a bigger brush. I don't know why I ended up with this one. I think I just used it to wipe my stuff off. I was going to use a bigger brush that was kind of the width of this, but I'll switch over here in a minute. It wants back out.
We need to put a doggy door on your
I know.
studio.
I saw an advertisement for one you can get for your cats where you take a regular door and you cut the corner of it off and you put a hinge along the corner and then you can leave the flap of the corner up or lock it down to let your cats in and out of the room. Not obviously for outdoors, but you know, for interior doors. If you have cats waking you up in the middle of the night or in the morning or whatever, let them out without having your door fully open. All right, getting a little bit of a more yellow tone here with the India yellow. And just gonna kind of add some of that. This is gonna look, you know, kind of hodgepodge at first. It's gonna come together when we add our shadows and shading. So right now we're just adding texture, so don't worry about what it looks like too much at this point. You're just trying to get some of this broken texture, you know, that's the main thing. And I'm trying not to get too many lines at this point. I am getting some, but I'm trying to kind of just let the texture just be kind of all over. Get some of the darker gray here. This is kind of going on a little soupy, so I just added water, but that's all right. If your paint's really wet, it's not gonna break up on you, so this is not doing the dry brush texture because it's wet, but that's all right. Okay, get a little bit of the darker, and to get the wetness out of my brush I can just push it on a paper towel there and kind of draw out some of that moisture. All right. I think I should have gone just maybe a little bit darker with my background color. Although maybe not, I don't know, we'll see as we go. It feels a little bit light. Trying to avoid this too much streaky. I kind of just want texture. I feel like they're getting kind of just stripy, which is not necessarily the look I'm going for. All right. Get some of that overlap right there. Get enough of that color to make sure that it kind of covers that red there, and then it's going to cover the red a little bit. It comes out just a little bit right here and down. Just laying my brush flat and letting it drag and create texture. Again, it doesn't really matter at this point. We'll get it. We'll get it more detailed as we go, but this is just our initial layer of texture, so it's always kind of going to look funky at first. I always call this the ugly stage. You kind of have to make it look uglier than before you can start putting on the final touches.
Yeah, that's what you said before. You know, a lot of people new to painting just think that you just do like 1 or 2 brush strokes and it's done.
Right.
And whereas no, it's could be 4, 10 layers.
Right. It depends, you know, I mean, if you're doing a paint party painting, then yeah, you probably are going to do it a little bit differently. You may do it faster, but if you want it to look more realistic, this is kind of the way I like to do it. So, you know, there's ways to cut corners for sure, but I find that doing multiple layers like this is what really makes it look realistic in the end. If that's what you're going for, then you just kind of have to trust the process and let it look a little weird at first until we get it there. Okay, so it's looking all right. I get a little bit of that darker color and come up here underneath where my
Kind of like relationships.
What?
Let it
What?
look a little weird at first.
right.
And then we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cut off jeans for shorts and long tube socks.
You gotta play the long game.
Except for when you're baking bread, apparently.
Yeah, no. Mark was watching a show about baking bread last night, and I'm like, because why would you do it in one step when you can do it in 12? And this is exactly what we're doing now.
Now you see. Huh?
Yeah, now I see. Okay.
I wasn't going to say anything last night, but that's
Right,
what I was
that's
thinking.
exactly. Oh, there we go. My own. I don't have the patience for. I can make cookies. I'm a cookie baker, but that's about as far as I go. I don't like having to wait and then do another 12 things and then wait and then
So, what
poke it and then wait another 2 hours and then like, oh my gosh, is it done yet? No.
So, what did your loving husband make for you this weekend?
What did you make? Oh, scones. Yeah, scones and clotted cream. Yes. Good job, too. Need to finish the scones. We haven't finished them yet.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
I
for
forgot
first
about
try.
it. All right, so just so you can see that I'm using this darker color to kind of just start adding some detail. I'm definitely not wanting to add too much, but I am going to add some of this darker stuff to the stonework as well. Just here and there. Most of this paint is out of my brush now, so I'm just kind of lightly running it across here to get some texture. Yeah, no, the scones, we were going through scones withdrawals. We had them for several times while we were on vacation, so it was a good attempt. And the clotted cream wasn't quite, I don't know what we did wrong, but
Well, so
yeah.
the one video that I watched from Chef John showed baking it at a low temperature for 12 hours.
Right.
And your friend had done the same
That,
kind of recipe.
Yeah.
Then I watched another video where the person was using a double boiler, and it was like an hour. I'm like, well, heck, I'm going to do it in an hour. So I did that.
Didn't
and
work.
it didn't set up very well, so then I wound up sticking it in the oven. So I think the two methods follow
Together, yeah.
With the cooling in between just didn't work
Yeah,
out too
no.
well. So the next time we will try it straight with that one
In the
method,
oven, yeah.
because we can't just buy it at the grocery store here.
No, they don't sell it here. It's super sad. Maybe if we were in a bigger city they would, but they don't have it here in rural Arkansas. The store. Okay, using the unbleached titanium now for the top step area here. And I'm kind of deliberately going over the edge of that dark just to kind of soften it off. All right.
Amazon.
What?
We buy it on Amazon.
Oh, really? How much is it? A lot?
$10
Oh, really?
for a jar.
Well, seems worth it. Okay, getting some unbleached titanium here, maybe a little bit of this gray. And I'm gonna clean up this side here. Bring it out just a little bit. Okay. So, believe it or not, that's looking pretty good. You're just gonna have to trust me at this point. I find them kind of messier the better sometimes with the stone stuff, so don't get too careful about it here at first. All right. You can see kind of, that once you kind of get some of the detail on, that it doesn't take much of the dark shadowing to make it start looking good. So I forgot to texture this area, so I'm just gonna kind of pull and going in the direction that I'm seeing the stone. So this is growing or going out here. And then I didn't leave room for that door number at the top, sadly. Okay. Close enough. I didn't use this one at all. I'll put that beside. Get my... Okay, so let's go ahead and I think I'm going to fill in the door as I paint it in sections, and that way I'll just save myself some hassle. So I've got that the top part kind of cut off there, and then below it there's a little gap and there's a line on either side, and then kind of a little box. And then it comes in a little bit, just a little short, and then it curves, or is it curved? No, it just kind of comes in and then back down, so just in and back down, so kind of like that. and then it goes back out. So just make a big square with a little cutout on either side, just a little bit, like a little notch inside both sides. Okay, looks good. Then there's little loop-de-loops, 3 little details there, and then right in the middle there's a big oval and something coming on either side, and then kind of a bow type of detail at the top. Okay, and that's the fanciest part of the door there, so we might make that a little bit bigger, we'll see. I don't know. Then there's just a big long rectangle on either side. And several parts to it, and then there's 4 little dots. It comes down to just above this mark here, so somewhere in here, and then there's kind of a space, 4 more or 2 more rectangles, and then a little line at the bottom. So leave space so this rectangle, these 2 are evenly spaced in this little section right here at the bottom of the door. Okay, so, and they come out as wide as these ones. Right, I'm just trying to leave room for the detail I'm seeing kind of in this section here. Okay, there's lines. And then the doorknob is like right here. So low. I love it. So cool. Another 2 dots.
So
There we go.
what are you using to draw that in with?
This is that chalk pastel.
Chalk pastel?
It's actually a charcoal white. Gold General's charcoal white.
Oh. Cool.
Yes. All right. I'm trying to get it as symmetrical as I can. I don't think I'm gonna be super perfect about it though. I kind of like the charm of an imperfect door myself, so I'm gonna try to resist being uber careful with it and just let it be a little bit maybe irregular in places. I'm trying to find, I think I want to get a round brush to help me create my lines. Is that the one I'm looking for? Yes. So kind of a 2 round. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the door and this fretwork or the scroll work up here, and then we'll finish the stonework once we get this done. Okay, so I'm trying to see. I might bring this down a little bit. I feel like I kind of crowded that at the top. I was trying to make room for everything, but I think I'm going to bring these down just a little bit, just to leave a little bit more room for this part up here, because it's so interesting. So maybe just about 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, something like that.
And of course, the traceable for this will be based upon the finished painting
Yeah.
with all the edits included.
Yes, and I'll probably use the original door to do the traceable so that it's more straight than my drawing. That's how I usually like to do it.
Not all wonky.
Right. It won't be the wonk. You can always trace my original if you want the wonk.
Hashtag no wonk.
No wonk, wonk.
Or hashtag want the wonk.
It'll be interesting to see. Okay, so I need to fix that, but we'll get it there. All right, so let me use the angle brush to start with, and I'll put in the detail at the top of the door there. I'm going to get, so I lost my color. I'm going to get that dark brown that I mixed and mix in my red. Basically magenta and black makes a good dark red too. I'm just gonna go across with that there, and then leave a space and come below and do another layer, and that should kind of butt up right up against that, the beginning of that door detail. So that's kind of the top of the door, and that is like a, not really sure what that is actually. Getting some white here. I'm just gonna kind of highlight this area, just pulling down. Trying to get my line straight by lining up the edge of that brush. Makes it easier to get kind of straightish lines. Okay, so I think that that's going to be close to the color that I want. I'm going to shadow these corners, but because I've added so much color right now, I'm just going to leave it, and I'll come back to it and add my colors later. But let me go ahead and grab my round brush and some white and some of this gray here. Make kind of a light gray. And we'll start to detail out. Probably ought to draw it. Get myself a sharp pencil. All right. Looks like there is like 3 sections. So 1, 2, kind of 1 in the middle and 2 on either side. Well, yeah, that's about right. Okay, so this one in the middle, it kind of does like this. And try to find the center here so that we're working from the same spot. There's some sort of something that comes up like this. This is that's the tree that I kind of drew a little bit in there. I think I made that a little bit too big. I'm going to start inside those 2 dots. Curl like that. And then, I can't tell, I think it does a heart right here. Yeah, it does kind of a heart, but it doesn't fully come in, so it does like that. And it looks like there's kind of something here and here. And then there's another one right here, curling like that. From where that heart comes down. Doesn't come to the middle, but there is sort of a middle something underneath that comes out around like this. Just like that. And then there's another one coming down from there, like that. And then right here in this open space, there's one that kind of circles from this heart, goes to this open space in between these two, curls in, and then there's another one that curls out right there, curls down, and then curls in like that. Okay, so something like that, up, and then another one curls here, and then goes from here to here. Kind of follows that curve. Okay, shoot, that's a lot of curls, didn't it? We'll get it. It doesn't have to be, you know, you can do whatever you want, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same as the store. So I'm just gonna use the brush here and very lightly just gonna mark those in. And let them be kind of almost sketchy, you know? Like, they don't have to be perfectly solid. In fact, if they go on a little bit imperfect, it'll kind of add to the look of that, this whole thing, because this was kind of dark in places and lighter in other places, and so it's fine if you can't really tell what's going on everywhere. Okay. So something like that. Dab in where I'm seeing the little dots, and then I'm going to get some of that reddish color, and there's some of the red that kind of comes underneath and goes back here. That's kind of faint. Okay, we're gonna have greenery coming in front of it too. So, oh, there's some that I missed right here. I just saw it. The greenery is in front of it, so there's something. I don't know what it's attached to. Looks like it curves this way, like that. Okay. We'll let that dry. Leave it alone. Still with me?
Still with you.
Good.
I was just checking to see if that chalk pencil thing is in your store.
It should be.
Awesome. And if you're shopping Amazon Prime deals, use our link. Get over there.
Yeah, Amazon's got their special thing going on right now. They're,
one of them.
I know, they do them several times a year now, anymore. They're Prime Day. Yeah, because they just did one a couple months ago. I think in August, right? It seems like they.
Earlier and earlier.
You're not seeing, yeah, and you're not seeing like killer deals on anything. So I haven't. I kind of was looking today, didn't see anything, except for they did have my lip gloss on sale. So.
So what?
Sweet.
What are you saying?
What?
What?
I bought lip gloss. Everybody's getting lip gloss in their stockings again. Not you guys, but the girls.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they're not listening.
I'm sure they're not. It's probably not a surprise because they get it every year. Oh, lip gloss. The boys get chapstick, the girls get fancy lip gloss. Laniage, I'm not sure how you say that name, but it's good stuff.
Well, one pro tip I have is that if you're shopping the Amazon quote deals,
Right,
use the website camel, all one word.
right.
Put in what you're looking to buy, and it'll show you what the price history has been for the last however.
It is very helpful. It is very helpful.
Because sometimes their deals, they'll drive the prices up.
Right, they raise the prices just before the sale.
Right. So it may be actually more expensive than it had been a month or two ago.
Yeah. That's true. Okay. Are we on time? Okay, we got about an hour. I think we can do it.
Oh. I know you can. I don't know about me, but you said we can do it. I don't know. I'll give it a try here. Pass it over.
Okay, so let me go ahead and I think I'm going to just use some black here with my glaze. Darken up the door across here. I'm just going to go straight across. And I kind of loaded it so that the color was a little bit darker on the tip there. Yeah, let's go ahead and put it in the corners too. And when I do this kind of smoothing after I kind of put the color down where I want it, just very light touch there because you don't want to pull the color up, so kind of go across with it very lightly to finish it up. Okay, so let's get a little bit more black just on that corner, get a little glaze. And I'm just going to put the dark all the way across the top here, over the top of that we just did. It should be somewhat transparent so you can see that what we've done. You don't want to cover it completely, but you can see where I'm kind of making it a lot darker right at the top there. And just pull it down as far as you want. Some of that wasn't dry all the way.
That's okay. We'll put a bird on it.
Okay. Put a bird on it to fix it. Yeah. Good idea. I'm just using some black here to kind of touch up some of the areas around. Got to glaze over the bottom here to shadow it as well. Okay, let's see, now it looks a lot better. A little bit more set in place. All right. Let me get my... I want to spend the time on the things that are important here, so I want to get this door done first before I worry about the stonework. Stonework is important, but the door is kind of the star, so I want to make sure we don't run out of time to get it up to snuff. So let's go ahead and start with the Quinacridone Magenta there. I'm going to add a little bit of the Cadmium Red Light and just a little bit of the black, like that. We'll see, because this was too light, so I'm going a little bit darker. So I'll have kind of a shadow color, and then I will add white to the shadow color. Hopefully it won't go too pink. If it does, I can add more of the more yellowish red, orangey red, to keep it from being too pink. So Let's see how we do on a dark red here. It's definitely magenta. Let's add a little bit more of that orange red, cadmium red light. Okay, so that's going more burgundy-ish. Let's go ahead and add burnt umber. I added burnt sienna last time, but I felt like it didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. So let's add the burnt umber and see if that helps. Tone it down. Okay. All right, I'm gonna try just a little bit more red. I feel like it's not quite brick color enough, you know, it's like a little too magenta. That may have been too much. Okay. Yeah, that's closer. Okay, so that's kind of closer to like what the mid-tone is going to be, or the mass tone, you know. So let's go ahead and go a little bit darker. So I'm just going to take a pretty good amount of it there and get some black. Add that. Get some more magenta. I picked up a little bit of blue there, so it turned it purple, but I don't hate it, so it'll be fine, I think. This is going to be our shadow color on our door. Yeah, that'll work, I think. Yeah, I think our initial color was a little bit too bright, a little too saturated. Well, a lot too saturated, but that's okay because it'll kind of shine through. We were going to need more than one layer anyways, so I need to scrape that up into a smaller area. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, that's a nice burgundy color, isn't it? It's got a little bit of a purple tone, but I think it'll work. It's similar to what we're seeing up here, so I think we're okay. And then I'll just use what's left here. I'm going to get some unbleached titanium and some titanium white. Mix in what's left on my knife. Add some of those two reds. And then I can add some of the other reds too. So I can scrape up some of this. There we go. It's nice, it doesn't look too pink. It's got kind of a nice salmon undertone. I think that'll work.
I have a brush question for you.
Uh-huh.
What kind of bristles are in these brushes you're using?
They're synthetic bristle brushes, so you want synthetics for acrylics. You don't want natural hair bristles usually, because natural hairs are just too delicate generally. Acrylics are pretty caustic, so Princeton has their own, like a lot of times you'll see Taclon as the kind of synthetic for acrylics. That's a pretty common one that's used by a lot of manufacturers, but I think Princeton has their own proprietary fibers that are used in their brushes, so I don't know exactly what they are, but generally you see like nylon, Taclon, synthetic fibers in acrylics. I want to say the VelvetTouch might have I know that there's some acrylics brushes that have some natural fibers with the synthetic. Don't know if VelvetTouch is one of them. I can't remember. I feel like it might be, but it's softer than the other two. All right, so there we go. Let's go ahead and add our shadows around the sides of the door. That'll kind of help shape it out. I'm going to use this mid-tone color here and just make sure that this first part is dry. The one we already did. And maybe get a little bit of that darker color and mix the two together. Okay. Can add a little glaze if you feel like, you know, it's gotten a little thin. Going on pretty solid with this color, so not having to add a lot of water to it at this point. Try to keep it off the brick, but if it gets on there, I'm not worried about it. The brick's not done, so, or the stone, I should say. Okay, so that looks good. And then let's go ahead and just kind of brush it across here and add it to our little sections. Try to get it on fairly smoothly. But there are a little bit of imperfections here and there in our door, so it's not perfect, that's okay. Trying not to get too many lines at this point in the middle part, so I'm kind of trying to smooth out those edges so that they're not too defined, because I still want to go through and add our light bits. Just trying to kind of fudge in some sort of light detail. Do some lines across here. And this is just kind of adding this color, get the door a little bit closer to the color that we want it. So it's looking much better now. I'm going to add a little bit of this color to this area in here. I'm just going to have to redraw that because I'm moving it down. Okay. Good enough. Let me spray all this. Don't want my stone colors to dry out. And let me get the mid-tone and a little bit of that darker color. And let's go ahead and figure out where we're going to put this across here, there, and right here. Like that. And can maybe do a line straight through the middle if I can keep from messing that up. Let's try to find that middle and do a line down so that, and T-square is nice because it make sure you keep it straight. I tend to go crooked for some reason. I blame it on my glasses, but I don't know. Maybe my inner ear problems. Who knows? Okay, there we go. So just a light line. Now we know where the center of our door is. We can kind of help space things a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to get my light pink color. Add a little bit of that mid-tone to it so it's not quite so light. And I'm going to use it just above that dark that I just put on. It's getting soupy here. I need to dry off my palette. It's a catch-22. You want to spray your paint, but then your palette gets these puddles, and then when you try to mix into them, your color gets all soupy. And I don't want it to be wet for this. I want it to be kind of dry so that I can put it on where I want it to be and it'll stick. If it's too wet, it just kind of smushes on and doesn't stay put. All right. Let's try that again. Get some of that lighter color and a little bit of that mid-tone red. Yeah, you can see the difference now. It's gonna go on there and stay. Okay. And this goes pretty close to the middle, so I'm gonna bring it in, even though I didn't do my dark all the way. I want it to be wide because it'll give us more room to do the rest of what we want to do. Get that darker color. Go wider with the dark too. Yeah, so that goes almost to the edge of the door opening on both sides. Okay. Go. And then I'm gonna come down. Did we decide we were right about there? I think that's about right. Somewhere in there. Okay. Oh, it comes up right there too. Darn it. Comes up in the middle here too. Let me get the darker color and we'll darken up the bottom. So I want to go across and then up a little bit and then back down. Somewhere like that. Get the lighter color here. Kind of mid-tone. I'm not going super light with this. Just want to sort of give me an idea of where everything is. Just kind of mark out the boundaries of I think this one's a little higher than the other one, so I'm going to bring it down. Okay, then I'm going to get this lighter color here. So in that mid-tone red, and let's just go ahead and do our medallion right here in the middle. Kind of, I say in the middle, but it's kind of down from the middle to leave room for the bow at the top. Centered, but looks good. Let me get the dark red and go below it. That will make it pop out, become three-dimensional, and do a little dark loop-de-loop at the top there. Then below on either side, there's going to be a little dog ears almost, looks like. And some more of that light, and I'm just going to kind of dab made that one a little too wide. Okay, getting that darker red. The nice thing about this is that we can go as light as we want with this, because what we can do once we get it done is what we're going to do with our stone and shadow it, glaze back over it, and tone it to what we want it to be. So if we get the color a little bit too light, I'd rather go too light with it. At this point it'll be fine. We can fix it. Just adding little kind of almost like leaf details here. And then at the top there's a dot. This brush is almost too big. Kind of a dot. And then kind of a ruffled bow. So I'm just going to dab kind of two bow-like things there, and then dab two streamers coming out. That's it. Okay. I'm going to go back in and get some lighter pink. Go a little bit brighter right there. And maybe, oops, right there. Dry brush some. Okay, we'll let that dry, and we'll glaze back over it with red, and it'll blend in. All right, I'm gonna get the dark color now, the dark red. I'm gonna go up underneath everywhere that I just did my light color and just darken up. Kind of just below everything. You can see that. I'll bring it out. Three-dimensional. Again, I'm kind of dabbing it so that it kind of fits. This part I'm not going to dab here, but up there where it was kind of, you know, broken lines and stuff, dabbing. Getting a little bit of the darker black with my red here, and I'm going to darken up the side here, make sure my line above it is dark. That. See how that pulls it forward, it's amazing. Just that little bit of shadow. Both sides. Sometimes if the light is really strong in one direction, you won't see it on both sides, but this one, it was both sides, so just because the light is probably because it's bright overhead, and so it's kind of casting shadows all around on all sides. All right, they're not perfect, but you know, it's close enough. Let's get a little bit of the pinkish. I'm going to do my little dots, dabs right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Go. And we'll put our dark below those. And now they're going to look like they meant to be there. It's amazing. Just a little shadow. That's all it takes. Okay. Shadow above, shadow below. Okay, we'll leave that and come back to it. It's not finished. And you can add some shadows inside this little area here too. I'm going to add kind of some little like V shapes in here to sort of break up the detail on those. Okay, color's not right yet, but we'll get it there. We need to add more of the brighter reds, but I think when we glaze, we'll be able to pull those out. Using some of that red here and just kind of filling in some of the blank spots around it. Okay, it already looks better. Let me get that darker color. And we'll start putting in our details on this so that the width of this is a little bit narrower than that. So it's just slightly less wide. So there's one line across, and then skip a beat and come in at a diagonal. So imagine kind of a diagonal here and here, and do another shorter line that's thicker right there. Okay, and then another thin line down. Try to get this straight. You can use your ruler if it helps, which it does, so I'm not, but probably be smart if I did.
Did you know that the ruler doesn't only have a straight edge on it, but it also has numbers?
Mm-hmm.
And those numbers can be used to measure things.
Very true. Very true. I'm not going to do that, though, because it's going to take time. I don't have time for that. I'm just going to use my artistic interpretation here. We're making art. I'm not building a door. So if I was building a door, I would use the numbers, but okay. I'm doing art. So close enough is good enough. Okay. Well, this one's a little bit narrower than the other one, but you know, again, we're all right. So box inside a box, basically, is what you're doing. All right, and then there's some, get some of this red and some of this lighter color. I'm just gonna kind of quickly brush it across. Ooh, got a little too much there. The nice thing about these old doors is they're all weathered and kind of beat up, and the paint's shipping, and so you can be a little bit more free with your liberties that you take with it. Not worried about getting it perfect. I'm gonna make a more orangey red though, light red, because I feel like that one's too pink, too purple. There we go. And then I'm going to use this lighter color on the inside of the door parts. So where I did my lines, I'm going to come and add the highlight of the part that's kind of raised up in between. And again, I'm not being super careful about it, just trying to get it close. Looks good enough. And there's another raised bit kind of on the outside that's highlighted. So already did it there. And then at the bottom, this part's brighter, so let's go ahead and get a little bit more white with it. A little bit brighter than what I have in this one here. And there's just a little nice bright highlight coming across there and there. This definitely, it looks worse than it is because the thing is angled away, so it's not as bad as it looks. It's not as off as it looks. Okay, I'm gonna do my little dots in the corners. And again, if I was doing this on a Thursday, I would probably measure and be a little bit more careful. I'm usually a little bit more realistic with those tutorials, but this one we've got 2 hours, so we've got a half an hour left to finish this. I don't have time to be, perfect about it. I gotta get it done and get it on here. So I'm already probably running a little bit behind. Okay, looks good enough. Let's go ahead and get some more of this dark and do our dark line below my highlight color. So more, and then below that is our lines down. Just gonna kind of create some lines down there. Get some more of that dark and go across. Now this time it's going to go a little wider, so almost touching, and then leave a space and do another one. Okay, then get my highlight color and go above both of those. Okay. And then my highlights, there's some kind of highlights in between these where the light color is. I'm just going to kind of set my brush down and sort of halfway pull up. So don't go all the way up with it. Just set it down and kind of pull up a little bit in the in-between parts where I didn't do my dark. Just like that. Okay, good enough. And I'm going to go back over here and do another light color on top of that. Okay, there we go. All right, we're getting there. I don't think we're going to have to darken that up too much now that we're getting the rest of this on here. It's looking a little bit better. I think I'm going to clean that up just a little bit though. Okay. And then this last bit is just kind of a light highlight across, which is about the width of this line here. So come down a little bit and go across. See if I got that even, sort of. And then I'm gonna highlight the top of the bottom of the door all the way across, and then just go to town with these kind of streaks that are happening here, and this bottom of the door is all weathered from the rain and whatnot. Okay, and then there's a little bit of part on the door here. You can leave this out if you don't want it, but there's like a kind of a scrape through right there on that door, and I'm going to use some of this gray sort of to straighten out the bottom of that. I just grabbed some of that, this color, and some white here, and just using it in liberally all over this bottom part of the door, where most of the damage is. Okay.
From where the plant was trying to get in.
Exactly.
It's scratching on the bottom there.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going in through the top.
Yep. Feed me. Okay, so yeah, that looks good. All right, let's do one last little bit on here, and I think we're done with the door mostly. I'm gonna get that mid-tone red and some glaze, and I'm just gonna kind of go over this section here with it. anything else that I feel like might need a little tone. Okay, yeah, looks better. I can wipe it off if I want some of the lighter color to shine through a little bit more in some places. But looks good, I think. All right, let's finish our stone and then we can do our plant and we'll be done. So our stone, I'm going to go back to this 6 bright here. And I'm going to get my unbleached titanium and I'm going to kind of mark out sort of where my stone divisions are, and actually I'm seeing it kind of in dark in some places too, so there's 4 right here between this, so let's start here where the door is. I'm going to go dark underneath the door. And kind of darken up the corners there just a little bit.
A concerned citizen has reminded us to not forget about the knob.
Oh, thank you, yeah. Thank you. I want to say I would remember that, but you know, you guys know me too well, so thank you. Getting some unbleached titanium here and run it across the front of that. And run it a little bit across the front of that part too, on the step. Okay. All right, so the first block starts kind of right in here. Goes across. All the way across. And then there's 3 more. So from here to here, there's, nope, it can be like that. Okay, so right in there and right in here. Well, that's nice because that already had a dark part there, and I'm just going to kind of brush across to wipe that in. And I really kind of like to do those lines not so perfect, but kind of tap them in because they look a little bit more natural if you do that. And then get some unbleached titanium, some of the yellow, and go just above the dark and kind of tap in that stone. And you can kind of pull up if you need to integrate that light color into the stone above. I think there's probably blocks here. I don't see them. There might be a seam right here. Yeah, I think there's a seam right here. Coming down, so get some dark and light. And that's pretty much all you're gonna do, is just kind of, you know, separate out these stones by sort of dabbing light and dark colors around them. Until they start to look good, you know. That's, I don't know how else to put it. It's kind of a, just a matter of layering them until they look good. So let's go ahead, and these blocks are about the same height. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like there's 5 lines. So let's start in the middle then. That makes it easy. So from here to here, there's 5. So we'll just start right here in the middle, and then do 2 above and 2 below. Okay, looks good. Like that. What are you laughing at over there?
Laughing at it? What?
What?
Oh. They're just some dad jokes.
Oh gosh. You're sparing me the dad jokes, thank you.
You're welcome. I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, not. I don't know what is wrong with people these days. Dad jokes have made a comeback big time. I'm joking. All right, so kind of just going in and darkening up on that side. I'm going to lighten up on this side, I think, just a little bit, and kind of try to keep in, now that I've got my blocks marked, sort of keep my blocks this color. Going in fairly dark here. Not really sure why I'm doing this dark, but I think I'm going to come back in with some lighter color because I feel like it was just too light overall. Getting the unbleached titanium here. Going back over that dark. And to kind of clean up the edges, you can kind of find that corner and just pull so that, and leave a little bit of a space where your dark area is, or your separation is, and that will kind of naturally make them look like they're sticking out a little bit. Okay, so starting to get there. Let's do the same thing on the edge of these stones here. And keep them in the same general spacing as we did here, so. And it's okay if it goes into the door a little bit, as long as you have it going all the way down, you know. Okay. Ah. I like it. Unbleached titanium. Let's do the same thing here. I'm going to kind of set it down and kind of pull back. I don't want to go too far with this one because I want this side to be a little bit darker, so just kind of keeping it a little closer to the edge there. It's not perfect, but it's close, you know. It looks like a painting of a door, so. That's what we're going for. You know,
Well, I'm glad that is.
it's close, so. I mean, that'll be my most realistic door, but. I'm okay with it. Okay. Getting a little bit more of that unbleached titanium. Gonna tap out along the top of this to make sure that stone is highlighted. This goes all the way across here. It actually has a little bit of a cut in right here. So that. Highlight across the top right there. Across the top right here, and here, and here as it's coming in. And then I'm gonna just kind of lightly mark in my brick lines. There's another arch here, but I don't think I'm gonna worry about it. It's not gonna add anything to the picture to have it, you know, because we're not gonna detail it out, so I'm just gonna ignore it. But it actually had a really cool window over here too, but you know, it's kind of one of those things where unless you're painting it on a big canvas, you kind of lose the impact if you try to do too much on one of these smaller canvases, so decided to leave it off. Plus I couldn't do it on a Tuesday if I added the window and the door, so but maybe another time we'll do the windows that go with this one. Just adding some highlight here, and then we'll come back through and add our lines through that. Okay. Get the edge here that's coming forward, so if you want it to look like it's coming out, you have to add the highlight on one side and then the dark part on the other side here. So I can go in with my shadow right there and just shadow in this section here, and suddenly that part will look like it's coming forward. Let's see. Okay, same thing here. I'll make it a little bit darker than the light area next to it, and it'll make that look like it's coming forward a little bit more. I'd already kind of done it on this side, so this side is already pretty good. I'm going to maybe darken it up just a little bit. And go ahead and darken up underneath. Right. Pretty happy with that. Oh yeah, let's do that. Bricks here on this side. These sides are little bit more weather worn. So maybe do a little bit darker down here on the very bottom. Okay. Ooh, we're right at time, aren't we? Let's do our green and we're done. So our little pot that our flowers, or my, not flowers, my vine, yes, thank you. Thank you. That was in like a little tin bucket. And I'm going to just use my line brush, or my round brush here with my, maybe get a little bit of both of those colors. You're going to have it dark enough that you can see it, so it may have to go darker than this, we'll see. And I'm just going to sneak it. All that work. We're just going to cover a lot of it. Okay. Get it nice and dark right here where it's coming in. Might make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Now we kind of have an idea of where to put our flowers. I'm going to get my angle brush here. Not flowers. I keep saying flowers. Leaves. It's wishful thinking. I'm like, flowers. If only this was flowers.
She said the F word.
Getting some black and some green here. And I'm just going to dab. Dab, dab, dab. Lots and lots of dabs. And kind of pointing my brush down. And I want it to go out a little bit from where it is in the picture, so you don't have to keep it in the same exact spot. You can go wherever you want with it. If I press down less, it's going to be smaller leaves. If I press down more, I'm going to get bigger ones. The middle part I really want to be pretty dark though, so, and I really probably should have shadowed the wall before I did this, so I'm going to have to go back in and shadow on my wall where my greenery is coming down because it's really dark in some places on the wall. Go ahead and put the dark on here first. And there was another photo of a red door that had like, it had bars in the door. It didn't have this detail here, which was cool, but it had like bars in the door and then like this yellow bicycle. It's so cool. So that may be another one that we have to, maybe we do a red door series. But maybe the last door for a little bit that we do. We're doing one more this month and that's going to be it for a while. 3 in a row. Came home from our trip and just painting all the doors.
So are you saying that you'll have 3 doors down?
Oh gosh. Yep, 3 doors down. All right, so I added some yellow and green and white here, and then added more green over here. So I have kind of a mid and dark tone here. This is the mid tone, or I'm sorry, mid and light tone. mid-tone. The newer leaves will have more yellow, be a little bit more, you know, when the leaves first start growing, they're a little bit brighter, a little bit lighter color, usually a little bit more yellow, and then they'll, as they mature, they get darker. So these ones up at the top here will have some yellow, little baby leaves. Get some more yellow green, and I kind of swish side to side a little bit as I put these on to get more leafy shapes. Just letting the leaves happen. The brush kind of does all the work for you. It's nice. So now that I've got my dark here, I'm just going to kind of go in and create some light colors over the top and leave some of that dark showing through. The dark is not the leaves really usually. It's going to be the lighter color. The dark is kind of the middle of the cluster usually of leaves. So you may have a little bit of dark, but it's not going to be your detailed leafy area. It's just going to be what's in between these that we're doing on top. I don't know if that made sense, but I'm trying to explain what I'm doing here. A lot of it's kind of intuitive. I'm just kind of looking at my picture, seeing where I'm seeing the light leaves kind of popping forward and tapping in those areas, and then I'm trying to leave some dark here and there so that it kind of has some moody areas too, where the light's not hitting. Okay. Down here there's fewer leaves, so just a few little dabs, and we're just about done. And I might bring it up just a little bit right here just to give it another little something happening. It's not so perfectly, you know.
A perfect curve there.
Right, yeah, break up that curve a little bit. There's a little bit of a more vine showing, so let me get some of my unbleached titanium here. I got a little bit of yellow too. A little bit of white, maybe some of this color here, just kind of a lighter beigey color, and gonna just have some of the vine peeking through here and there. Again, it's going to be kind of hard to tell what's stone, what's, you know, vine, but you can kind of tell just from the context here, you know, if we're putting it in this area. So going back through and kind of highlighting some of the lines that are coming through, maybe get some of the darker. Make sure this one has a vine coming out to it. I can use my smaller brush here to do some smaller leaves too, if you want to get a little bit more detailed with a few of them. You can dab a few leaves on with this brush. Kind of setting it on its side a little bit, kind of gives you those sort of sideways leaves that I'm seeing on here. The ones that are kind of coming out towards you tend to look like lines, or you're seeing the edge of them, or the top, the front edge of them. they're not laying flat towards you. Okay. And then once this dries all the way, I need to go back in and add some shadow with my dark like brown or black, whatever, just kind of a dark color with my glaze here. And I'm going to try to get it in there without touching my leaves. But you get the idea. You're going to kind of go in here and just shadow around where those, especially where these clusters are coming out over an area that's got highlight. You want to darken that up. It'll look unnatural. So just want some shadow, nice and dark, especially kind of in the middle of these clusters. So make sure that that part that is right against the wall there is getting nice and dark. Shadows. All right. I think that's good. I could probably go back in and darken up some of my door detail. I've got, you know, now that I've got it dry and got my first layer on, could get some of this dark red and just come back in and pop out, maybe even make it darker. Pop out just some of the darkest areas on the door. Of course, you know, better to do this before you do your vines, but why make it easy on us? There's only a few areas really that need it though. Just a few little bits here.
Upper left-hand corner.
What? Oh, and the doorknob too. Upper left-hand corner?
Yeah.
What?
Man, we were wondering if you're going to remember.
Yeah.
And I was going to remind you by saying, knock, knock. And you're going to say, who's there?
You already had your doorknob joke
And then I was going to say,
ready. Okay.
you for, and you're going to say, you for who? And I was going to say, you forgot the doorknob. But you ruined it.
I'm sorry. That was a good joke.
I know.
That would have been really funny.
It would have.
Okay, getting the burnt umber. I'm using that kind of the color from here on it. It's kind of a brass color. Burnt umber. And then let's get some unbleached titanium here. And just dab the middle. And do kind of a line around, halfway around. That's good enough. There we go. Doorknob. Boom. Done. There's also kind of a lock right here that I'm seeing right here. Just kind of mark that out. Okay. So there's our red door. Really fun. Yeah, I definitely think I could probably go along the edge here too and darken up the edge of the door just a little bit. I feel like
the upper left hand, like, yeah.
just all the way down there. And on this side too, which it's a little too late because I've got my vine there now. But
It's all right.
close enough. Okay. Well, there's our red door. He's all right. So if you get yours done and it's like, oh, this too pink or whatever, you can go back in through and just like I did with this dark color, you could glaze it. So you can glaze yellow, you can glaze it blue, you can glaze it brown, you can glaze whatever color over the top to help like tint it if it's, you know, leaning too one color or another. So that's another thing you can do, just like we did here in multiple places where we just added a thin wash of color over. You're not trying to cover up the color, you're just adding to it and adding, you know, another dimension. So, all right, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Ooh, super chat. What?
I mean, you're just running out.
I know. Well, I thought we were done. Here, let me sign it while you're doing that.
Oops. Oh my goodness. I hit
Hit the delete.
Yeah, I did.
Uh-oh.
Good thing I took a picture.
Yes.
Let's see. I gotta find it. Please hold. There it is. Okay, so tonight's super chat was from the Unprofessional Painter. Said, love your videos.
Aw.
They help me get in a gallery.
What? That's
Yeah.
awesome. Congrats. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
I love that. I remember that feeling. The first time I got into a gallery, it was like Christmas. I loved, yeah, we celebrated, was in a gallery in Little Rock, and yeah, I remember that feeling. That's excellent. I'm so happy for you. Very cool. All right, getting some dark here. Just remembered I didn't do the extra little bit here, which really doesn't matter, but you know, just trying to make it more.
And if you're watching this in October of 2024,
Mm-hmm.
and you're from Canada, happy Thanksgiving to everybody for next week.
Oh.
So enjoy your turkey.
Oh yeah. Will it be before we meet again?
Yes, it's next Monday.
Monday.
They'll be
Cool.
recovering from a turkey
Food coma.
food coma.
Nice. Congrats. Yes.
Butter tarts.
Oh, butter tarts and yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know was there. Here, I'm just going to kind of hint at that number 13 there.
And then whatever doesn't sell up there, they ship it down here for our Thanksgiving in November.
All the leftover turkeys.
You know, leftovers.
Heck, they're still good, so I don't care. Still tastes good. All right, just kind of dabbing on some extra little last minute details there. I don't know. Let's add a little bit of light around the numbers there to.
Okay, you said you were done.
Move it in. I mean it. I mean it now. This time for real. All right. Like I said, I could spend another half an hour easily on this, perfecting little things, but I think we got it close enough. It's probably not fully not crooked, but you know, we're close.
Just tilt your head to the side.
Exactly. It's rustic. We'll just call it that. All right. That's it. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.